Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. So nice to have you all aboard, whether you're watching on Torah Anytime or wherever you're watching or listening to podcasts. It is a delight to have you on board for this episode number 25. Wow, 25. And based on the response, we're hopefully going to be doing a series of special shiurim before Pesach. I have to figure out how exactly we're going to work it out, but we would like to make a whole bunch of extra ones for those of you who will be cleaning for Pesach or packing for Pesach or doing whatever it is you do for Pesach. For you who do those things that you do so well. And this is the first time that I'm sponsoring a podcast for someone who did not ask to be sponsored. But I mentioned last week that a generous individual bought us a fancy new microphone and got me my special Rabbi Orlofsky Show mug. And I would like to dedicate this podcast in honor of him and all the good works that he does. He does a lot of good works, and he doesn't want to be mentioned. I appreciate that. I do. There's somebody who makes I'll put this in the context. There's a women's Shmiras HaLashon that takes place here in Eretz Yisrael, in B'nai Umah. They get thousands and thousands of women who come out, and somebody said, why don't we make something for the men? So he makes a men's Shmiras HaLashon, and he asks me to MC it. And he says he doesn't want any credit for it. And I said, no problem. Taking credit for things I did not do is one of the things I do best. And I was more than happy to be the public face of this event and to take full credit for it. Thank you very much. Because I'm happy to take credit even for things that I don't do, and certainly for things that I do. And I told this story, I think. I never told the story. There's an organization in Beit Shemesh called Likrat Kala. A fascinating organization. It's run by Mrs. Pinhasek. And they were making the first fundraiser. And she asked if I would come out and speak on behalf of the organization. And I said, listen, for money, I'll do anything. So she says, it's really important to us to get you for this event. And I said, why is that? And she says, because I heard you speak about how every individual can do something special in this world. And I was inspired by that to start this organization, which provides for kalas. And it's interesting. You can get somebody to help you make a chasana. You can get somebody even to help you get a place to live. But then you go and you have nothing. I mean, the things that we take for granted. This Baal Tshuva once wrote into the Jewish Observer, Bizmano, in its time. And it said, there's so many things you take for granted. Your parents or in-laws buy you Shabbos coats for the kids. We don't have anybody do that for us. There are so many things that you take for granted, so many things that to you are such simple things that everything for us is, we're on our own. So she says that she raises money and they check out the collars well to make sure it's legit. And then they can go shopping. Dish towels, bath towels, dishes, pots, linens, small appliances. I mean, the things that, used to having people come and take care of for you, but they may not have anybody taking care of it for them. Yeah. So when I spoke at the event, I said, I want to point out that this 1,000 collars who've been reached so far and helped, it's only because of me. And this is all my credit. So this person doesn't want to take credit, but I want to give him some credit for the microphone and for the beautiful mug and that support and friendship. So this week is Parshas Tazria. And I spoke last time about Vayikra and Tum and Tara. It doesn't really get too exciting for people who should know. And this week we deal a lot with tsaras. And here we're dealing with tsaras in the skin. 4 different colors, I should say shades. But the fact is, I remember I always get this I always mix this up. There's something called shades, tints, and hues. And I always forget which one is which, but one of them is the following. I mean, let's say you're talking about red. So between red and white, there are many, many gradations. It goes, less and less red, more and more pink, 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 until it's absolute white. When it's going towards black, it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker and darker and darker until it's pure black. And then if you go to gray, it's getting grayer and grayer and grayer until you're at absolute gray. And all of those different shades and ideas, shades used to... Anyway, so there's 4 different types of white. And if you say to me, white is white, if you want to paint your room white and you go into a quality paint store and say, I would like white paint, they'll give you a little card with 5 different types of white, and they have 300 cards like that. And, pick out, is it ivory? Is it lace? Is it unicorn? I don't know. There's every type of different kind of gradation to be able to get it. We were going to make our original kitchen, we were going to make it beige, and the carpenter got a little confused and brought us this sort of like yellowish type of thing. I don't know. We had a neighbor who was very nice woman. She comes in and she goes, "Oh, vanilla." That was the nicest description you could possibly give to that. And it's an interesting thing. You talk about colors. So there's 4 different shades that you can get that makes you tummy. Now, what happens when you become tummy? When you become tsaras, it's translated as leprosy, which is almost as good as calling kalim vessels. When we say leprosy, it's something that's known as Hansen's disease. That's not what tsaras was. Tsaras was a type of a discoloration on the skin that you got when you did things that were wrong. Now, let's understand what that means. The world is meant to exist in an equilibrium, a balance. And there's supposed to be a balance between your mind, your body, and your soul. So, for example, there's a famous fellow by the name of Dr. Sarno who maintains that back operations are unnecessary because people complain about compressed discs, but he says the fact of the matter is that the older you get, there should be more operations, but it's not. It's mostly between 20 and 40 during the high stress time, or 30 and 50, I forget exactly, during the high stress times, and after that it drops off dramatically. So it's really the tension that's causing the pain in your back. And a fellow said to me that his wife had it so bad, she couldn't stand. She was, we went to drive to Dr. Sarno. She was lying on the back of the seat of the car. She couldn't sit up. She couldn't. And she walked out of the lecture. He gives a 3-hour seminar. She walked out on her own 2 feet. So it means that you think that it's coming from your body. Let's say better than that. It is coming from your body. The pain is real. It used to be, and the way he explains it is, it used to be people got ulcers. People had tremendous tension, and so the body digested its own stomach. There's a hole in the stomach. You can see it. It's real. It's bleeding. But it's coming from tension. But once everyone knew that ulcers came from tension, the body stopped putting it in the stomach because you'll know that you got the ulcer because of tension. And now you don't do it anymore. So put it into the back instead. A person's mindset can affect their health tremendously. My father passed away 22 years ago from lung cancer, and they've made a lot of strides since then. But back then, there weren't many options available. Life expectancy was very short. And when the doctor came to pay a shiva call, he said, "Your father lasted almost 2 years with lung cancer. That was unusual. but he really wanted to live. And he pointed to somebody else in the room and he says, he would have been dead in 6 months. Because he didn't want to live as much. You have to want to live. And your mental state can affect your health, for real. So too, we believe that if your body and your soul are not in sync, it can also affect you. We don't even know what this means anymore. We don't even know what this means because we have experienced so much stuff. You know this. It's been documented that the hormones in the chickens and the beef that we eat are affecting, young girls' development. The chemicals that we have. I had a guy in my Shir Nor Sameach, his parents owned a commercial bakery. And he says, we mix in all these chemicals and all these things. By the time we're done, the bread is already baked. It's already finished. You don't even have to put it in the oven. We put it in the oven for a little bit to get a little brown on the top. But as far as the loaf of bread, it's already a loaf of bread. From all the stuff that's inside of it that grows. We don't even know what it means. People say, I can't say for sure, people say that free-range chickens taste much different than regular chickens. I don't know. I really haven't had. I heard this one guy say, I would never eat free-range chickens. I want a chicken that was locked up in a box his whole life. He's miserable. He's unhappy. He's happy when you finally shecht him and you eat him. End of a miserable life. I want some chicken who was happy, running around, having a nice life, and then all of a sudden they cut off his head. But people say it's a difference. You can taste the difference. I was in Los Angeles, and I was with a family where they only drink non-pasteurized milk. It said the pasteurization process takes things out of the milk. So I said, but what about the bacteria? And I goes, you're right. You have to use it within a short period of time. Don't leave it for a week, like you might be able to do with pasteurized milk. But it's a complete. I don't know. I didn't try the milk. But people have different fertilized eggs. Some people like fertilized. I don't know. You have a problem there with halacha, obviously. But we don't even know what it means. You're allowed to shecht a chicken on Yontif because you're allowed to do anything that's tzarech Yontif. And you can't expect me to eat a day-old chicken on Yontif, right? We get a chicken. It was shechted 3 or 4 years ago. He's been frozen in the refrigerator all this time in the freezer. And we might take him out, we cook him, and we don't know the difference. We don't know what things are supposed to be. We put so much chemicals in, we have so much radiation, we get exposed to so many things, so much processed. It affects us. It breaks the equilibrium. But we also believe that there's an equilibrium between our spiritual and physical selves. Tsaras was a manifestation of the body and soul being out of sync. And the result of that was tsaras. The result of that was that it came out in a certain way. There's supposed to be a balance. We're supposed to be able to maintain a balance. And I read an article years ago where a person went to a strip mall. Those of you who are outside of America, it means a row of shops, okay? In America, we call that a strip mall. It's a line of shops, yeah. I was staying with a family in Leeds. I don't know how many years ago it was. And they said, oh, we visited New York once. And so I said, well, you probably didn't come out to Long Island. I was living in Long Island, all we have out there is, highways and strip malls, So they looked at each other nervously and they said, no, we had the children with us. I was like, no, it's a row of shops. Anyway, wow, awkward. But anyhow, so they were measuring strip malls, and every place, it would be like 8 stores, 3 of them were food stores. And one of them was a drugstore. And in the drugstore, the largest line of things were antacids. When people eat, and then they take antacids because they're bloated and they're gassy and they're sick, and there is a worldwide epidemic today of diabetes because there's too much food. People are having too much. To be able to maintain an equilibrium, the Chazal say one of the reasons we got the amount of man the way we got it was to teach you. You eat in the morning, you eat at night, that's it. I used to teach. I used to have 3 rules in my class. I taught in seminary. There's no talking, there's no cell phones, and there's no gum chewing. So people could understand, okay, no talking, it's disruptive. People could understand no cell phone. Why no gum chewing? I said, because choshev people don't chew gum. You'll never see the Queen of England, chopping away on a piece of gum. Important people don't chew gum. You'll never see I should say, I'm making a caveat. I don't think you'll ever see a kala under the chuppah chewing gum. It's pas nicht. And I said, I want you to see yourselves as I see you. Because I treat you with respect and dignity, and I want you to treat yourself with respect and dignity. And they said, we're going to pull out the gum as soon as we leave the class. I said, that's okay. But this is a haven. For this 45 minutes, you're going to be somebody special. But it's more than that. Why don't people chew gum? Because they always have to have something in their mouth. They always have to be eating. There always has to be a snack. They have to be munching something. There's not a question of this is a meal, this is a meal, that's it. It's okay. So I remember this one diet book. It says, in America we believe in having a hearty breakfast and a hearty lunch and a hearty dinner and several hearty snacks in between. We throw ourselves out of whack. We don't know how to maintain a balance. It has to be an equilibrium. You have to learn how to create that balance between your mind, body, and soul. And when that goes out of sync, that leads to tumah. So, for example, there's a type of tumah, which is in next week's parsha, called zov. The zav and a zava, yeah. The Sefer Chinuch says, what causes that? And he says, what causes that, if you look in the Chazal, is too much excess. Too much eating, too much drinking, too much whatever. It leads to zava. And he says, because the body is in a balance. And it can't handle too much extra stuff. And the extra stuff rots and oozes out of you as tumah. Because your body is out of sync. Your body is not balanced. And that's the same idea with saras. You speak Lashon Hara, it means that there's a disconnect between your body and your soul. Your soul is not resting comfortably in it. There's a Gemara in Brachos. It says, when a tzaddik dies, his soul leaves his body like pulling a hair out of milk. It slides right off. There's no problem. Taking a rush's soul out is like pulling a cotton ball out of a thorn bush and the little strands. That's the reason why people's bodies have to rot away, because there are these little nefesh nuggets that get stuck inside and you have to rot away to release it. A tzaddik doesn't have that problem. That's why a tzaddik's body doesn't decompose, no need for it. They pull them straight out. Because we don't have clear where I am, where my soul is, where my body is, how everything is supposed to fit together. There's a discomfort in life, knowing that things aren't where they're supposed to be. And to be able to achieve an emotional balance, Parsha Shmini, last week, when they put up the Mishkan, it says, V'yaronanu v'naflu al pneihim. They sang joyously and they fell on their faces. Now, I know people who do that, but they were drinking, right? What does that mean? So Rashi says, V'yaronanu out of simcha, naflo pneim out of yira. There was that balance between ahava and yira. And that tension is what a Jew always has to try to achieve. Warm yourself by the hot coals of the chachamim, but don't come so close that you burn yourself. There's a balance. There's a balance. In life, there's always pulling close and pulling back. Ava v'yira. There's with your parents, there's kavod and there's yira. There's expressions that we do out of love, and there's expressions that we do out of respect. Have to have a certain awe. It can't be all one way. Everything in life has to be there in order to be able to achieve a balance. And one of the biggest problems that exists today? Doctors say it all the time. Scientists have done a lot of studies on it. People aren't getting enough sleep. It used to be the sun went down and you went to sleep. You could light a candle. It wasn't the same. It's not like today when we can turn the night into day. I have called a backyard, a side yard. Here in Israel, called a chutzner. It's like a courtyard, whatever it is. Yeah. And they put up halogen lights, so when you want to go out at night, it's So somebody comes, they go, "I love it. I feel like I'm in prison." Like the searchlights shining on you from all around. Yeah. We can turn the night into day. There's no day, there's no night. So people have trouble getting up in the morning, and people are suffering from lack of sleep. And the average bedroom has all different kind of blinking lights there now. So little blue lights all over the place. This disturbs people's sleep. Studies have shown. Used to be, it got dark, you went to sleep. Then the sun got up, you got up. Some people would get up late. Yeah, princes who were like, just had nothing to do. So they would get up by Zman Kriyashma. That was the latest that anybody could have possibly gotten up. Otherwise unheard of. Sleep the day away. Sleep the day away, party the night away. We don't know what day, we don't know what night is. Everything is out of sync. Everything is out. This is Parshas HaChodesh. We start Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Says the Maharal. The months that have the most Yomim Tovim are Nisan and Tishrei. You know why? They're the equinox. Half day, half night. Not too hot, not too cold. That does well for us Jews. When are our days of Churban? Asar B'Teves, Shavasa B'Tammuz, Tisha B'Av. When the days are short and cold, or the days are long and hot. Extremes. We Jews don't do well with extremes. We Jews try to maintain an equilibrium. And when you don't have that equilibrium, then you end up being tummy. That's what brings to tsaras. That's what brings to zava. That's what brings to things being disturbed. Things aren't the way they're supposed to go. And it's unfortunate there are people who have been so out of whack for so long, they don't even know what reality is supposed to feel like. Yeah, how you're supposed to feel good. A lot of normal body functioning people. Let's face it, most of the diseases, or most of the things that are killing people today are examples of the body destroying itself. I'm not even talking about the autoimmune diseases. I'm talking about heart disease. I'm talking about diabetes. I'm talking about all these different things where we're basically killing ourselves. And so many things could be solved if we ate better, if we lived better, if we did everything a little better. But everything is too much. In the summer, people put the air conditioning on so cold that if it was the winter, you would turn on the heat. And in the winter, very often it's overheated. I know in America, you go places, it's overheated. And very often people get sicker in the winter from the overheating than they do from the cold. It's too much. It's too much. To be able to maintain an equilibrium, you have to go for it. Tahara comes from thinking. Tuma comes from not thinking. You know what you have to do to become tamei? Hesach hadas. Just don't think. Right? You wash your hands. I remember this when I used to be a kid, and we'd have a school trip, and they'd say, wash in the school, and then you'll make a motzi on the bus. Wash your hands, and you have to watch them like a surgeon. You keep your focus on your hands, because all you need to become tamei is forget. Just don't think, and your hands will become tamei. You're not paying attention. Tahara requires concentration. Tuma, just don't think. You'll mamela become tamei.
Say that again?
To become tamei, all you have to do is not think. You'll mamela become tamei. That's the nature of tuma. Tahara requires concentration, requires focus. And so too, if you want to have a life of purity. So you have to keep that balance between your soul and your body and your mind, and everything is supposed to work together. And the more we can maintain that balance, it's an amazing thing. I had the zechus to speak to a number of Gedolei Torah, and if you read Mesil Shasharim, you reach the level, it's called Yer. It says, Mefached tamid, you're always afraid, you're always worried. I never saw Gedolei Torah who looked like they were worried. They were completely in an equilibrium, completely placid. Nothing shook them up. They had that balance. That's what we really need to achieve. We need to achieve a physical balance, an emotional balance, a spiritual balance. That's this time we're going into. This is Nisan. This is the time when everything begins, the springtime of the world, where things are where they should be. And that's what we have to work on now in our own lives and in our spiritual lives, in our relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. To be able to maintain that balance, to be able to have that sense that we are people who we don't let life decide us, we decide life. I can never control events, make that clear. I can never control events. I can decide how I'm going to react to those events. That's within my power. Now, when I have that, then I can take us out. We go me'avdus l'cheres. We go from slavery to freedom. In slavery, you have no choices. But that's not 100% true. Because even though you don't have freedom, you have freedom on how to react. I heard Yosef Mendelovich, when he got out from Russia, and he said, they tossed me into prison, and it was Friday night. And I started singing my zmiris. They took away my siddur, they took away everything I had. I started singing my zmiris. And they said, no talking. And I said, you can't take away my song. Yeah, I'm up here. You can lock up my body, you can beat me, you can starve me, but you can't touch me, because I'm up here. I'm outside of everything. When a person can move outside of it. I knew a fellow who was older when he made Aliyah, and they drafted him in the army anyway. They don't always do that. When I came, I was 29, and you had a 3-year grace period. And when I was 32, I went down to register, and they just told me, please go away. We don't want you here with this guy. They took him, and there was another guy, and they were older, a little older, middle-aged. And basic training was a little rough. So he says the way we got through it is we convinced ourselves we were in a movie. This wasn't real. We were playing a role. And that's the idea. The idea is that if you can look at life and say, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. I have to achieve this balance. I have to make myself who I want to be. I'm always in control of how I choose to react. You go to sleep on time, and you wake up on time, and you eat healthy, and you exercise, and you daven, and you learn, and you do everything you can to keep yourself in a healthy mind, body, and soul, then in Mitzvah Hashem, we can all be Taha going into this Pesach. So that's it for this week. If you want to find out more about the show, you want to go to RabbiOrlofsky.com/podcast. If you want to comment on this show, it's RabbiOrlofsky.com/podcast/25. If you want to find out about upcoming events, it's RabbiOrlofsky.com/events. And if you want to contact me, it's RabbiOrlofsky.com/contact. And if you would like to sponsor an event, it's RabbiOrlofsky.com/podcast and click on sponsor an episode. Thank you very much. I'm David Orlofsky. This is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.